So I think to start, I would wish to quote the African Feminist Charter of Principle, which has said and echoed to challenge patriarchy effectively also require to challenge other systems of oppression and exploitation, which frequently mutually reinforce and support each other. And in the context, that's where we're having this conversation, because there is that acknowledgement that patriarchy as a system really work with other system of oppression to reinforce those systems. And specifically, climate change, as we know it, is a product of the patriarchal capitalist economic system built on destruction and of exploitation of human and nature. And with capitalism as a model of production and an economic model is what bred climate change. And exploitation of women, for example, is part and parcel of the broader process of exploitation. So addressing climate change is addressing systematic system of oppression, which, as I said, reinforce each other. At the center of it is a capitalist as a mode of production. And because those systems has worked together, capitalism in this case, and exploitation of women, we know now, for those who have worked in climate change, we know the famous saying that women are most impacted by climate change is evident. Research has shown over and over again when, for example, crisis hit, women are more impacted. UNDP, for example, did projectors suggest that women may be 14 times more likely to die in a climate disaster. And the evidence across the board that women have, that's the fact that we have established. And the quest for the feminists is to move beyond those facts of the women are being affected the most, to understand why women are being affected, because you cannot understand it by just saying that women are the most impacted, but looking at the system of oppression that linked gender inequality and gender exploitation with exploitation of nature as well. But also we do know as an evidence of how these two systems reinforce each other. We do know, for example, women are not in the decision table in any of climate change policy process, being it in the UNFCCC or being it in a national policy processes. Women are not in that table. Majority of those who are making policy and taking decisions on behalf of the world are not women. And that's part of the systematic problem, exploitation that we are seeing. And because of that, the policy and decisions that have been made, programs that have been designed, doesn't reflect the needs of women. And if so, it treats women as passive agent of change. It just makes them survive the system and not altering relations of power and not transforming communities and women. But also we do know, as the matter of fact, because of those interlinkages in the system, we do know, for example, as of now, the climate finance doesn't finance women. I think there is a couple of research that have said clearly that resources that goes to women are very minimal. Even in a climate change finance, the project that ought to support women, most of them doesn't have gender as a primary or principal objective, but rather it has it as, for example, a mainstreaming. And as the result of that, most resources doesn't target women. And this is just an additional evidence to the systematic exploitation. And last, I think it has been said, previous speaker, that women knowledge, skills, is not considered as a solution to climate crisis. And it has been undervalued, it has been exploited. And because of that, we are fighting the crisis, lifting half of the world population. We are fighting the crisis without half of the world population. So I think moving forward, as we understand the interlinkages between gender, and women specifically with the climate change, but also with the system of oppression, I think we can, as I said, we cannot solve climate crisis if we constantly keep pushing women at the periphery of power. The world won't be able to solve climate crisis and any crisis in that matter. We just had how, for example, COVID crisis, because systematically we continue to push women at the periphery of power and not altering the power relation and making us as community, but also nature, vulnerable to changes. So I think moving forward, what we'll need to do, and I think that is clear, I personally believe that with all wisdom vested in humans, we can envision to build a just, stable, and sustainable and dignified world. Feminists have started that journey. We have envisioning the alternative world. We've been calling for system change, but we do know that the privilege and the greed are still resisting it because they still want to exploit and extract the world to its last oxygen if possible. They think, I think, in my view, that the billions of money that they have in the bank, they will be able to serve them, even though the evidence clearly suggests that we are not safe, all of us, regardless of how much resources you have accumulated for yourself. And it is in everyone's interest to address the inequalities and change the system of oppression to attain a dignified, just, and sustainable world. Thank you.